filmed in a hammock before. Welcome to Whiskey Mountains. I'm Adriana, and today I'm in a hammock. So I am on my first solo backpacking trip. For this inaugural backpacking hammock camping trip, I chose to bring a tried and true, absolute fave, must-have Knob Creek. Also, I found this adorable little bottle when I was in Vegas, and I was pretty excited. I don't know if you can hear the buzzing. The bees really like my hammocks, hence I'm keeping the bug net up while I film. These porters. I would say I've definitely earned this whiskey today. Just a little bit about Knob Creek itself. This is the 9-year small batch 100 proof. So this is your standard, very much the standard Knob Creek. Just normally it'd be in a bigger bottle. That normal size bottle is normally about $35 where I am. Might be less in other places, but so it's kind of a budget bottle, but not full on. Knob Creek has the standard Jim Beam mash bill of 75% corn, 13% rye, 12% malted barley. I think that's off the top of my head. I did not actually write notes for this one because I just love Knob Creek so much it seemed ridiculous to write notes on it. The small batch is 9-year age stated. There was a time where they took away the age statement, but that age statement is back. 100 proof, mash bill, price. Now we can taste it. All right. Oh, ew. You know how you smell yourself to reset? That doesn't work as well if you smell like bug spray. And I smell like bug spray, which smells terrible. So, but as far as resetting, Knob Creek is actually almost always my first pour of the night, especially if I'm going to be trying anything new later, because it's kind of my balance, you know, for the scientists. It's like a control kind of thing. It's a variable that I know I'm super familiar with. So if my palate is going to be weird that night and off that night, which I feel like is fairly common for all of us, you know, there's just some nights where something we normally love is just not quite hitting us the same, then it helps me to start off with Knob Creek and be like, oh yeah, it tastes like it normally does. Or some nights it's like, ooh, it tastes especially good tonight kind of thing, which makes me feel like my palate is just on it. And then I can really, you know, try some of those rarer ones that I have samples of. So I have, you know, limited opportunity to try it, and I want to make sure I try it when it's, you know, when my palate is top notch kind of thing and I can really enjoy it, pay attention to it. So, which is just to say I love Knob Creek and it's my go-to. It's my fave. It's, you know, it's like a comfort food kind of thing. On the nose, I mean, it's just nutty, creamy caramel, like with like a bit of earthiness. I think that's always my thing with Knob Creek is it has these earthier notes that I enjoy. So you have this nuttiness, but it's not overly sweet, you know. I wouldn't even say it's like nuts covered in caramel, even though you have nuttiness and caramel. A little more on the peanut buttery side, but also just kind of this earthiness to it. And that's true whether I'm inside or outdoors in a hammock after 4 miles of hiking with my pack. So, I keep trying to reset my nose. Nuttiness, and actually, and honestly, I do get a little bit of oak in here. All right. Cheers with my, also, mini whiskey, mini Glen. I think the mini Glens are the cutest things ever, and I'm so excited that I have one. So, okay. Oh yeah. I love this stuff. It's so good. I think it's just so familiar and lovely to me. I mean, a lot of what you get on the nose kind of translates. I'd say it's a little more char, not necessarily oakiness, but kind of a little more bitter and drying. You mostly get that smooth caramel on the palate. I feel like I'm saying caramel too much. And then when you swallow, And in the finish is when you start to get that char and spice. It really, the spice of it honestly like really lingers with you a bit. It's good. Anybody else just love being in a hammock? I love being in a hammock. It's best. Also, new merch, Whiskey Mountains. That's what I'm camping in tonight. So it's super comfy fabric. Highly recommend this one. If you're looking for some Whiskey Mountains merch, you should go to whiskeymountains.com. And I've got t-shirts with different things on them, and water bottles and coffee mugs. Normally I don't really let 100 proof air out, but I'm gonna just a little bit, just cause I want to chill in my hammock and have my little thing of Knob Creek. It's just so cute. Okay, so today's trail talk is with glass in hand, because I'm at my campsite, which isn't really saying much, because right now there's a fire ban because of all the wildfires, and there's been a drought, so this is technically a campsite, but I can't make a fire in that ring. So yeah, here's the camp, here's the campfire ring that I can't use. And so here's what I'm using. Just a little stove, pot, gas, and these things. But here's something fun. Turns out I forgot a spoon. So, but I had brought whittling stuff because I like to whittle just in general, in a very poorly skilled kind of way. So I found some birch, and let's get this open. As you can see here, keeping it here to keep it away from bugs until I finish my dinner and put it all away. Yeah, I whittled a little spoon out of a tree, out of a birch branch. And then for the true camp, ta-da! I'm in a hammock, no tent. So this is a tarp that later I can pull back over and have cover completely. Like, so you can see it'll be like that. And I'll just be even more covered from anything falling throughout the night. If it were to rain, it shouldn't. I checked the weather. And that's why I'm camping on a Tuesday, because it's been raining a bunch here, even though it's still a drought and still campfire concerns and everything. So, here's a little worm on my book bag. Disgusting. Have that tarp, have my blue and green hammock. This weird thing is an underquilt, because you get cold in a hammock being off the ground, but it's also way more comfortable than sleeping on the ground. And you can see it's got, you can almost see, there you go. It's got a bug net, and it has like this line that basically gives it more structure and holds that net off of you. And I've got my sleeping bag and a little pillow in there and everything, my nook, and then just have my bag next to it, my water bottle. But yeah, so now that we've lit this air out while I gave you the grand tour, ooh, that looks pretty, doesn't it? So pretty. We can get back in the hammock and finish this whiskey. Oh hey, didn't see you there. Guess my Knob Creek is aired out. Let's try this again. Okay, so we've aired out a little bit. We've read a book for a bit while chilling in this hammock in this one freaking bee. This would be the most relaxing thing ever if this one bee would get over it and go away. He's been here for hours, y'all. So, anyways, let's try it now that it's aired out some. And like a little tiny shimmy for the regular Knob Creek. There shimmies the whole hammock. Whoa, sorry, camera. I love Knob Creek, honestly, as it airs out. It just gets creamier. Like, the mouth feels almost even creamier. But just the feel of the nuttiness, you know, more like a peanut butter, but still not quite that peanut butter. Maybe I should have like I've only had like Jif peanut butter. I haven't had like fancy all natural peanut butter. Maybe I should have that. Maybe that's what this is like. I don't know. But it's just creamy nuttiness. It's just so yummy without being overly sweet. And I think because of that nuttiness, that's sort of, you know, by it staying away from the sweetness, that's sort of what veers it into that kind of earthy note that I really enjoy just as it sits by, you know, on its own. Sometimes I think Knob Creek doesn't do well in flights, and this isn't just making up excuses for Knob Creek, but for me at least, it sometimes doesn't do as well in flights, and I think that's because once my palate gets in those, like, you know, much sweeter bourbons or even spicier bourbons, then the earthiness note can become kind of like a musty note, and then it's not as enjoyable. But Knob Creek on its own, I just enjoy, I think the earthy note combined with the nuttiness and becoming this creamy caramel sort of thing going on. I'm making myself hungry. And it has that nutty creaminess up front, but it has the spice still in the back to round it out. So you're not getting this overly sweet, you know, experience going on. You have the spice to round it off. And honestly, for being 100 proof bourbon, it kind of lingers for a bit. Like, it has a decent finish for the proof that it's at. Even just like a touch of rye spice there in the back, but still nutty creamy without being overly drying, which can happen with some of the like much older Knob Creeks where you're getting too much of the oak char. So 9 years is not a bad age, and if you ask me, you just can't do better for 100 proof bourbon at only $35. I love this freaking bourbon. I think it's delicious and it's just what I want. It's very consistent. I mean, it's small batch, you know, but it's a good starter, you know, good proof. I think it's good if you're getting into bourbon. It'll also help you understand whether or not you like more, you know, sweeter profiles, or if you like earthier profiles. You might prefer spicier rye profiles kind of thing. I think this is a great representation of a earthier profile bourbon. Wild Turkey 101 I think is also kind of earthier, but it has a grassier note and kind of a hay note in the end. That's how I would sort of describe the turkey funk. And for me, I just prefer the nuttiness of the Knob Creek over that, though I do love a lot of Wild Turkey products too. So that, like, apparently I just prefer earthier bourbons. So anyways, I'm going to pour more of this and go back to reading in my hammock and enjoying my little night. Thanks so much for joining me on Whiskey Mountains. It was a beautiful, beautiful place. I hope you all find beautiful places and beautiful experiences to drink your bourbon during, I guess, and people with, obviously. So, salud. This would be the one Knob Creek I've ever had where the wax just shatters into lots of pieces. Mother effer. Ow. Don't stab me. Ow! The wax is stabbing me. That's not nice. Because you want to be like laying in your hammock smelling the fresh air, and then sometimes you just get whiffs of bug spray. Anyways. It's a bumpy ride. As the, ¿cómo se dice? As, oh. Ugh. My nails are all dirty. We're just, ugh. Bet. Boop. Meow. This is the way to camp, y'all. rereading Jane Austen books because it's what I do, and drinking Knob Creek. It's my freaking heaven. I love it so much. It's the best. I love being in a hammock.